Hi, I'm Sam. I'm here at GMG as a vehicle artist, and with me is...
Andrew. I'm a 3D modeler and texture artist, and I was one of the people that worked on Sammit's car. We got Sam over here. He did the processing and scanning of the entire thing, and you got to meet Sammit as well, which is an awesome story that we can get into.
I did, and he was a cool guy.
He's a really cool guy, actually.
Yeah, very pink.
So, very pink.
Very cool. Okay, so Billy and I invited to Japan by Nissan to come celebrate the 2022 Nissan Nismo Festival. It was a special event since COVID actually stopped it for about 2 years. And there was just a buzzing in the surrounding cities of all these people rocking up in their JDM cars, their dailies, even like utility vehicles and whatnot. So it was really cool energy to be a part of. Being part of the Nissan Nismo event, so myself and Billy, my purpose there was to go out and basically scan as much data as I can and collect it and bring it back for processing at GMG. So when we actually rocked up in the morning, we were at Fuji Speedway, and it was insane. Like, there was a ton of people out there in cars just parked up in rows. Like, there were Skylines, there were Silvias, 180s, 240Zs. Some of the highlights was this Hakasuka with the original engine and a 432 as well in the original like orange and black paint. We tried to get a couple of scans of that, but there was some implications that didn't really work out, and it's mainly due to the sun. Really cool thing though is that while we were there, so I was using the Artec Leo scanner, and Billy was running around with the camera, and yeah, managed to get a drifting dog, so that was kind of cool. And the people that invited us there to the actual event itself were really hospitable and very respectful. They allowed us to be above the track in this like private booth where we could like have access to all of our gear and stuff like that. So they were really, really awesome. Like, Nissan really looked after us on that trip, so couldn't be more grateful. And part of that trip was that we went over and saw the Nissan Museum with all the cars, like one of every imaginable car. There was even like this really weird one, like a MIDI as well, which is a concept car. The technology that we use in the studio is Artec. We use Artec Studio to process our scans, and we also use the Artec Leo to process those scans. Now, with the scanner, it's really important that we get both photogrammetry information and LiDAR. Photogrammetry is taking a series of photos, and LiDAR is taking point data via light rays. And that basically ensures us to get like really accurate scans and really accurate data to work off, up to about 0.1 of a millimeter.
Well, actually, if you go onto YouTube and you look at Sammit's video of the Nissan Festival, you'll see my boy over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll see him get a little shout out in that video and a little process of him actually scanning it. So.
How the process is that the scanner picks up on geometry details as well as photogrammetry details that basically determine in the software where these deviations happen in the actual like scanning object that we're doing. So like car panels, for instance, are large featureless panels, like door cards and rear fenders and whatnot. And then interiors are a very complex, like feature-rich area. So geometrically wise, they're really good. But the Leo basically samples these points and finds like or mutual positions of these. And then when we go back to the studio, we process these scans in Artec Studio to find feature alignments and basically get everything coalesced into an actual usable OBJ for us to then start processing and putting into engine. With the scanning data, it is very intense. We're trying to capture as many points as we can to get as much accuracy in the scan as possible. So that might mean that one single file of a car, or like the exterior, the interior, and the engine bay, could be, as far as raw data goes, up to about 30 gigabytes of data. Now, when we take it back to our processing software in Artec Studio, we need to basically unpack and reconstruct some of that high definition data as well to even improve and boost performance and basically reconstruction of the mesh. So sometimes that can push all the way up to 120 gigabytes of RAM, which falls into also like hard disk space as well. So it like overflows into it. And it just can blow out like processing times to upwards of like an hour, 2 hours for just like one processing task, like a reconstruction or an optimization, or even just a texture pass to run back that photogrammetry back onto the mesh.
Well, with each car we do differently because we get a different input of information to start with. So some of them we have CAD, which is like super awesome, and I know you've even worked off some of that. So it's just it's a really nice process to work off CAD. But then with Scan, which is the stuff we go and collect ourselves, whereas CAD comes directly from Nissan or other companies that have signed with us, and that's what they use in the machine, like the machinery to make it all. So we know for a fact our product's gonna be very accurate. But with the Scan, we go out and collect it ourselves. It's real world data that we've collected, and
Absolutely.
we do an awesome job processing it. And yeah, so the first thing we do, we take all the scan in, make sure it's all collected, make sure the textures and stuff are attached to the scan, so we know what's what, just a little bit extra detail. And then we retopo it. So that's just the process of just like going over it with a new mesh. And if there was a way to reuse the scan directly, it'd be sweet, but that's not really possible. There's too many holes and whatnot with it, but it does give the overall like general position of it, and it's really easy, a lot easier to work off instead. So we take the scan, we give it a new mesh, new surface, model it all up. We use Blender for this process, and the reason we use Blender specifically is not only because it's open source, free, and a really good tool, but we use it because it has it's very well built for editing vertex data. And so what vertex data affects is reflections. And so obviously as car fans, you guys would understand how important reflections are to a car. So if we're looking at the panel work and whatnot, it can be very difficult to have a certain shape of something with cuts through it and whatnot, and get it to have the exact reflections that it would have if it just came out of the machinery. So that's why we choose to use Blender.
It's also very non-destructive as well, which is really great for our needs.
Super non-destructive. If we review our work tons of times, so we can go back and re-edit it without really causing too much harm. Yeah, it's just a great process that we have going for us at the moment. And then once that's done, we go, we UV it as quickly as we can, and then especially for the interior, like with the exterior, we can do a lot of procedural textures in engine, so that's just like slap a material and it looks good. But with the interior, when I was texturing it, I used Substance Painter. So model in Blender, texture in Substance Painter, and then we use Unreal Engine 5 to get the final game all combined together and all running and working. And even all of the renders we take and the renders of Sammit that you'll be seeing will all be taken from the inside engine. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy all the work we do here. Yeah.
So just speaking to like the scanning, so you mentioned that like with the scanning of the exterior, it's important to get the reflections, but like how does scanning help you with the interiors?
Oh, because it is very, like, there are ways in which we can get proportions accurate through just photos, and like that'd be using programs like F-Spy or just making cameras within Blender and lining it up and then modeling it to the different cameras. But having a mesh to work off on top of, you're guaranteed to have the correct like proportions of everything. You'll even be able to see the reflections on all the objects, and that like one of the techniques I use when I'm doing the exterior for a car is, for example, I'm making a panel, I create my mesh and I put it over the top of the scan mesh, and then I'll split the collection, so I just tap 1, 2, 1, 2, and then that way you'll switch between the scan mesh and the mesh that I've made, and I can push it to a point where the exact reflections are shining off in the same way, and you can barely even tell the difference between the scan and the mesh that I've made, other than a couple bumps that the scan has, which is just inaccuracies.
So like the interior scans that we sort of get when we're going to location as well is just like, it's so dense. There's
It's
just so much.
dense.
There's incredible amounts of stuff that have like, that's inside a pro car or a stock car even, like just details that you would like kind of miss if you just didn't have the scan there. And we like, it affords us the ability to just like see every screw, like see just the way in which like fabric has crumpled, or like how the gearbox like the shifter thing just that's like the cloth like folding, stuff on the roof, stickers, like
yeah. With the scan we just did of the 350Z, which the scan that we got on the gear shift, that I went and I just did a little retopo over that, and it looked amazing. Like that, it's so awesome having the scan for that. And then even with the texture details that you get inside the scan, like I look at that pretty thoroughly as well in Blender. That helps a lot with the livery because I was able to like get orthographic shots of the car in Blender, which is directly like side-on shot with no perspective. And then I could do the same thing in Substance Painter when I was texturing the livery. And then that way I would have the livery in the exact placements. It was also nice that I messaged Sammit about the livery, and he got back to me and he managed to send me the files for a lot of the different like decals and logos on there. So that made my life so much easier.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the stuff that we're doing with these sorts of cars is like accuracy is like first and foremost something that we're striving to achieve. Like if we're getting the actual livery files, proper reconstruction, as much data as we can. Like we're out there going to location and like collecting the real thing.
As much as we can get.
Hypothetically, we could end up like reconstructing these like scans into actual panels for cars that you fit. Like a lot of the manufacturing that we see in like workshops and stuff like that, they use the same technology to reconstruct like faithfully like old style kits that aren't in development anymore for like, you know, fenders or anything like that. So yeah, we're using the stuff that they use to machine things with. Yeah, so it has to be accurate.
We even use stuff that NASA used, if you want to talk about that.
Oh yeah. Like some of the sprays that we use is like an A-sub spray that we do to scan equipment with. It's like, it has zero residue. So you can't even tell, like if you swab the surface, you can't even tell if there's chemical has been on it. Like it's NASA grade. That's what they use on the spaceships. So yeah, it's like proper stuff. Proper legit stuff.
Trying to be as professional as possible and do everything as clean and as easy and get the best quality product at the end of it. That's the goal.
So Andy, how did you texture the car inside the game engine, and what role did like Substance Designer and Painter play in it?
So I did majority of it within Painter, and so you kind of have two main methods you can go about texturing something. You got something procedural, which is within Unreal, and then you got something which is like a more unique, and that's painted onto like a UV set. And so there are parts that had to be done to be unique, or if we wanted to achieve the certain level of detail we're going for.
Fidelity, yeah.
And yeah, so for example, like Sammit's got little pieces of tape that has the on, that's got like in Sharpie written on and off, and he's got them next to two buttons. And obviously he might forget which one's which, so he's got that there. And then there's a lot of cool little details throughout it, like on the, like, as I was going through, I was looking at the ref, and I spent hours and hours, even days even, just looking at the reference, trying to find every single detail to not miss anything. One of the cool things that I picked up on when I was texturing was, he's like 6 foot tall, right?
He's actually really tall, yeah. I was actually really taken aback at how tall he was, yeah.
So, and the chair's really far forward in the car.
Yeah, it's snug in there.
It's pretty snug. So, on the door, there's like little marks. I'm assuming it's coming from his feet as he's getting out that have been like scratched onto the door. So even details like that, I go in, I hand paint those in, make sure all those marks are there. So it's almost as close to the real thing as possible. There's certain companies that have that he's using their products. I assume he hasn't got them signed. I'm just guessing because he's got tape over the top of the logos.
Oh yeah.
Like a little bit of masking tape. So you go through and make the masking tape, and then put that on top, and you know, get every detail we can get.
Yeah, so like just about the stories with the car, like when I was scanning it, oh my god, dude, like I have this like 5 kilo scanner. It's a handheld thing that it looks like Wally's face essentially, and like when I was scanning in Nismo Festival, I couldn't watch any of the races. I had to keep running around and essentially like scanning everything I could find, because like every JDM car there is like super rare. And I just, on my, like, just kneeling down, standing back up, like awkwardly like leaning over the car, or like, you know, going on the ground to like scan underneath. And I think you can kind of see it in Sammit's video, but like that entire day.
You're lucky you're hench, man. You're lucky you're hench.
I was so sore. It was like the first day of the 5-day trip. And like the first day, like I pulled quad muscles, just like running around everywhere. I had like a 10-minute lunch, and I'm like, all right, I'm going back out there scanning what I can. Like Heritage Collection, done. Engine blocks, sweet. Sammit's car, yeah. It's really tight in that car. It's so small, and like the way
you hop in the front seat and sit down in it.
Yeah, the bride, it's cool. A bride seat, isn't it? It's just so like you're so forward, and yeah, he's tall. Like I think he's about, don't want to out him, but I think 6'2".
There you go.
He's
There's
pretty tall.
Inside info.
Yeah, it's just like I'm sitting in the front seat trying to scan like the underneath of the dash, and it was just like so packed. But I think you feel secure. You feel really like tight and snug, and like with the harness on, you'd feel really safe.
Yeah, no, it actually looks like a fun ride in there. I really like what he's done with the whole car. It was actually like it was a pleasure working on all of it. This is a bit of a side tangent, but it was a pleasure working on all of it because Sammit, Sam Lucas, I believe.
Yeah.
And his wife Mayumi, they're very beautiful, sweet people. So I was very happy that I could do something that hopefully they'll enjoy and like to see when it's all completed. And yeah, shout out to them for just having a child as well.
Yeah,
It might have been a couple months ago now, I think. Yeah. It was actually quite a funny story because I was in the middle. I was kind of at a crunch time. I was trying to get it all done, and I was trying to texture all the interior, and I needed certain things of reference because you're in a rush when you were there. You couldn't get photos of everything, and I searched his entire channel. I searched every photo I could find on the web, and there was just no shots of certain areas within his car. So I just shot him a message. Hey, like, here's a bunch of areas that I would really like to be able to see from different angles that we don't have at the moment. And I was scouring his YouTube channel again, trying to find some. And as I was looking at it, I see he posted a video, and it's like, we just had a child.
As an artist, as a vehicle artist, or like any artist, I guess, like you always want reference, and the more you have, the better it is. The happier you have as a time. Like one of the things when I was over there for the festival was that like we had an itinerary, and one of the mornings got cancelled, so I ended up getting like the Leo in my backpack and like walking through the streets of like Yokohama, and ended up like almost getting to Yokohama Chinatown, which is like pretty popular over in Japan. And it was just after the event, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to like see some like JDM cars. There's like this lowrider, like full decked out with like 3 dudes in front of it, just like chilling.
Scan it.
I was so scared, dude. I was like, do I really want to like go up to these guys?
Ask the Yakuza for a scan of
I
their
was
car.
like,
Yeah.
they looked real G, but I ended up going up to this, like, I was walking, and then there was like this 180SX just parked on the side with an aero body kit.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we need.
I was like, please? So I walk up to the guy and I was like, hey dude, can I scan your car? Like, is it okay? And he's like, oh yeah, cool. Cause they're really like,
Polite.
really cool. Yeah, like as soon as you start like offering to scan something, they're like, yeah, take mine. It's gonna be in the game. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, let's do it. So I start scanning it. The guy like walks up and he goes to the license plate and he puts a rag over the top of it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You don't want your license plate. That's sweet. That's fine. And then he walks away and he's talking to his colleague. And then I'm like scanning the front car. I'm like, okay, this is all cool. Like aero body kit. Yeah, it's like a bit wonky. Like, all JDM cars are like the panel lines don't quite line up.
Never line up.
Yeah. So the guy comes back, and because I asked him like previously, can I scan his engine? And he's like, oh, can I look at the engine? And he like opens it and he looks inside. He's like, looks at me. Oh no, no. I'm like, oh, okay. You said okay before, but I think there was something underneath the hood there that wasn't quite up to regulation or something like that.
Modded it out.
It's like, yeah, please don't. So one of the things when we were scanning at Sammit's G's car, he just came off the back of, but when I was scanning, I like pointed to the rear fender and I was like, oh, is this how it's meant to be? So we're scanning it and he's like missing the the front part of the left rear wheel fender, and it broke off. And yeah, so it broke off, and then after the event, he walks around, picks up the rear fender because it's just on the side of the track, and he puts it in his like passenger seat, and then someone opened up the passenger side door and nicked it. So stole his front fender, and it's on someone's wall now.
Fender.
Oh, back fender.
Back left fender, yep.
The front back left fender. So Andy, if you're a car part, what would you be?
I'd be a side view mirror. I'm always like, looking over my shoulder,
Oh, classic. I was gonna say you're gonna be a booster seat.
You think I'm small?
Just always, support, sturdy, functional.
You could have said a harness.
That might be giving away too much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the one that belongs to the children.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. But multi-purpose, maybe up to the ages of 4. For me personally, a foot mat. Because, I always...
People like to walk on you, yeah?
Yeah. And I'm just easily interchangeable. And you know what? If I need a wash, just take me outside and gurney me down. You know what I'm saying?
You don't even really
real
need
easy,
them after all.
easy going.
How long you been at GMG? What you been doing at GMG?
I've been at GMG for just over a year. Just over a year.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you so much. I have survived the 1 year mark, and we had a celebratory 10 kilos worth of brisket that I cooked in the office. So come to me for all your smoking meats needs. So what about yourself, Andy? How long have you been here for?
I just want to do a quick shout out to Sam. He's one of the I'd say you do a massive amount to manage the cars team as well as be one of the most important artists in the team as well.
I can't handle this right now. Can you
There's too much.
speed it up? Too much appreciation.
Look, yeah, I've been at GMG for what, 2.5 years, maybe a little bit over now. I started here junior with my first job.
OG.
Yeah, OG.
TD1 days.
Yeah, I started on TD1, just showed up at the studio and asked for a job, and then I was told that I was not skilled enough, which is true. I'd barely even opened a 3D software before.
Absolutely.
And so I just said, well, there's a free desk there, I'm going to come back. And then I showed up again and again and again, and I did that for about 3 or 4 months, and then eventually Aaron, the CEO, just sent me a job in like thing saying like, hey, here's like a thing for a junior starting position, like good luck. And yeah, it's been what, 2.5 years since that. I've come a long way in that time.
Super persistent, dude. That actually is like a huge thing, like persistence and like working at it, because it is like it's a craft. B, it's like art. It's really subjective.
I'm still studying. Well, I've been deferring, so I'm working full time, and I've been deferring as much as possible, as much as they let me. I'm gonna continue to work full time while taking uni courses on the side.
Personally, like I feel like you're in a position where you don't need to do university because you have a job. But I think the reason that you're still there is because you're passionate about the subjects and you want to learn more, or like about music and whatnot. For anyone who's interested in getting into like video games or any sort of like what we do, like modeling and whatnot, you don't necessarily need like university experience. Certainly you can be amazing. Like we have a talented artist who is like 17 years old. His name's Rob, and he's incredible. He knows so much. He's just done stuff in his spare time. He doesn't even need a degree, dude. Like
he is genuinely a robot.
He is a prodigy.
He's
like,
so good.
Insane. But like, yeah, for me, like I went to university, but like you have to really research like your university that you're going to. Some just aren't 100% fantastic, while others can be, so you really have to know where you're going from. But like for me personally, I had to like, after completing university, I then grinded, like I wanted to become a character artist initially, so I was like doing all the ZBrush and stuff like that, and then I attended a few events, and then I just developed a passion for like environment art, and then eventually it like turned into hard surface. So like for me, I was just exploring a lot of stuff when it came to the digital medium, and found my way into cars.
With the advice I generally give people, because people tend to I don't know why they ask me for advice a lot, but I tend to be asked advice a lot. And I always say the best way to find out what you want to do in life is to find out what you don't want to do.
Yeah, just explore. Like try stuff.
At least you'll know what you don't want to do. If you did something, you tried your best, you gave it your all, you really didn't enjoy it, then move on.
Everything can be a learning experience.
Yeah, and I think to finalize that whole thing is just trying opens up opportunities and
absolutely
shows you where you need to go. But
yeah,
I think if there is something you want to do or something you enjoy in life, just go for it. There are people making money or making a career out of everything, but if you just pursue it and you promise yourself you're going to work harder than everyone else, then I can guarantee you will be the one that makes it.
Yeah, just be persistent. You just keep at it.
Just never give up and you'll make it 100%.
Yeah, sure. Yep. So we're just gonna make like a burrito and wrap this up.
Yeah, I think that's time for us to call it quits.
Yeah. Okay. So just who we are again. So my name is Sam. I'm a vehicle artist here at TD2 GMG, and this is.
I'm just a general 3D artist. I do basically anything.
All rounder. Smash it all. And Andy B. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Outro music.